Welcome to the Driving the World podcast series. I'm your host, Cully Holland. Today we have Alex Cable back, who is in our legal and compliance department, and we'll be discussing exporting product internationally. How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing well, Cully. How about you?
Doing wonderful. Yep. So, as our legal SEW representative, we're going to talk about export control and kind of what that is. And let's just start with like a 30,000 foot view. Why do we have it, and why are we even concerned about it?
Yeah, wonderful. And it's good to start high because export controls is one of those things. It's easy to understand in principle, but it can get very complicated to actually execute.
Okay.
So export controls is something that exists from the government, say United States government, EU, some country that wants to affect the behavior of, say, another country or certain organizations or individuals, or maybe they want to punish them because they've taken some bad acts, or maybe they're involved with potential terrorism or something like that. And so export controls restricts a company's ability to sell products to certain countries, individuals, corporations, things like that.
Okay, so we're selling product and we have either a region, say an entire country, or it could even just be XYZ Corporation or John Doe, don't get to sell to them. So is this always an all or nothing deal, or can it be more specific than just no, yes?
Yeah, great question. So let's use the example of, say, like a North Korea.
Okay.
The country of North Korea, the United States government has said you are not selling anything to North Korea, period.
Across the board.
Nothing's going in there.
Okay.
Other countries or other corporations, individuals like you mentioned, if you are selling them something that is going into an application, say in a food factory or a medicine factory, you know what? That's fine. But if you're selling them something that may have some sort of military application or something like that, then that's going to be restricted. And so it depends on the location that it's going to, how restrictive that's going to be, whether it's going to be across the board or not. And it depends on who the potential actor is that determines how restrictive we need to be about it.
Gotcha. So that's already breaking right down the complexities like you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So these products, we're going to possibly get flagged, or we just know, hey, this is a no-go. And I'm assuming it's just products. So just, physical materials that we are sending can either go or not go.
No. And again,
Really?
This is where it gets more complex and more complicated. It is any kind of export, right? And so a number of our customers aren't involved in exports, say, outside the United States. But exports controls products, but it also controls information.
Really?
Yeah. So here's a perfect example. We will have situations where we have a project with a U.S.-based customer that is happening in the United States. You would think there's no export being involved.
No.
But say that customer provides us with certain information in order to be able to engineer a solution for them or figure something out that might require us. I mean, SEW is a global company.
Yes, we are.
have engineering teams and specialists all over the world. Might require us to take that information from the customer and send it to an engineering team of ours, say, in Germany. That is an export of that information. And depending upon the project, it may be allowed, it might not be allowed.
Okay, so we have 100% domestic project for product.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say somehow it gets flagged, just, hey, we're going to send this information you've given us. That may fall right back into this realm of export.
Absolutely right.
So when we're working on this and we're working with our customers to make sure we're all above board, what is some information we may need from them or questions we may ask to make sure that everything is, for lack of a better term, kosher?
Yeah, sure. Again, it gets complex because it's going to depend on the situation. There's gonna be certain red flags that cause our folks to stop and say, okay, I need to know a little bit more about what's going on. Maybe it is the voltage, the frequencies, that are being sort of quoted or asked about that makes us think, okay, this is going somewhere outside the United States. So let's talk a little bit more about where this is going.
Right.
We also have software-based solutions that SEW has implemented where we are constantly internally checking who we're selling to, who we're shipping to against these lists that various governments around the world put out to make sure that we're not sending it to the wrong people. Sometimes a company or a person that's totally fine, totally a good guy and above board might be really close to something that flags in our system. And so when that happens, it's like, okay, let's have a conversation. Let's make sure that these things aren't related. And then again, it may depend on the project, especially information related.
Right.
You know, if this project, even within the United States, is, you know, going to build a shoe factory, okay, fine. But if it is going, again, potentially into a military application or something like that, then we're going to need to know more about that to know how to handle that information, who we can share that information with internally among SEW, or whether it needs to be segregated by location.
Okay. So at the end of the day, if one of our SEW employees or SEW as a company reaches out about an export control question, we're not trying to play bad guy like, hey, you're doing bad business.
Sure.
We're kind of just reaching out because we're just trying to help our customers, or are we just trying to help ourselves?
It's both, right?
Okay.
Certainly, SEW-EURODRIVE, whether in the U.S. or any of our global locations, we're not trying to violate export control laws. Absolutely not. But also, we do very much view some of what we're doing related to export control checks as a service to our customers.
Okay.
Because SEW, as a large global entity, has the ability to do some of this due diligence with the software-based checks and that sort of thing that maybe some of our customers don't have, or they don't have the expertise to know how to do this stuff. Because, you know, if we sell to, say, a distributor,
right,
and they turn around and end up selling something to Iran, maybe it's okay, maybe it's not. They're going to be on the hook for that.
Really?
Not SEW.
Okay.
But to avoid that and to avoid our customers running into a situation that could cause them a potential problem, we want to look at that before we even sell to you. Before you even take it and implement it and move on from there, we would rather help you just go, okay, hang on a minute. You're trying to get something from us that's going to end up in a location or with somebody that it shouldn't be. Let's talk about this. Maybe let's not do this. It'll help us, but it's really going to help you as well.
Right. At the end of the day, we don't get affected by the export and we could lose a customer, but they're on the hook for all the legal ramifications.
Absolutely. Fines, penalties, potential criminal penalties. We don't want that to happen.
Right. So when SEW's approaching this, it's really just like, hey, we're trying to make sure everyone can do good business and continue to do good business for the foreseeable future.
That's exactly it.
Well, is there anything else on export controls you think we need to touch on without going for an hour and a half, or have we kind of got it?
Yeah, without falling off that cliff and going for an hour, I think we're pretty much there. Obviously, we're always open for questions. Anytime customers, are curious about something, please feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to share whatever information we have.
Well, fantastic. I'm glad we stayed off that cliff, and I really appreciate your time. It was
Thank
great
you.
seeing you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kelly.